Every day, there are incredible preparedness deals floating around the internet, but who has time to dig through dozens of websites to find them? That's why we created PrepperFinds.com, your one-stop site for the best prepper deals online. Our team scans the web, finds the biggest discounts on survival gear, food storage, water filters, radios, and more, and posts them in one easy place. No more wasting hours searching or missing out on limited time sales. At PrepperFinds.com, you'll see the best deals every single day, so you can save money while stocking up on what really matters. Check it out today at PrepperFinds.com. Bookmark it, visit daily, and never miss a deal that could keep your family prepared. That's PrepperFinds.com, where smart preppers shop.
Survive, thrive, stay alive. It's time to get prepared with the Prepping Academy podcast.
Welcome to the Prepping Academy podcast. This is Patrick with Grid Down Comms Up, in for another episode. We're going to pick up part 2 of our top 10 items that you need to survive a natural disaster. Hey guys, I want to encourage you to stop by the Eastern Tennessee Homestead Alliance Festival. It's going to be held in Knoxville, Tennessee. If you're in the Eastern Tennessee, Western North Carolina, general area around there and want to check out a really cool family event where there'll be tons of classes on everything from butchering livestock to preserving food and all kinds of other useful and wonderful self-reliant, independent skills taught by some very wonderful people. I encourage you to come on out. It is September 12th and September 13th, so coming up in just a few weeks. If you have been kind of on the fence about going or haven't bought your tickets yet, there is a great opportunity that they've presented to me. If you use the discount code GRID10, that is GRID, and then the number 10, all caps, you can get 10% off your general admission passes. If you haven't bought them yet, be sure and collect that 10% off and take advantage of that before September 1st. Coupon code's only good till the 1st of September. Want to encourage you guys also to check out my YouTube channel at Grid Down Comms Up. Posted a new video on building a little end-fed half-wave antenna a couple weeks ago. New content there as I can create it. Going to be posting some of this stuff over there from the podcast, as well as doing some of the class presentations I've done before, posting those over there. So lots of communications and prepping content coming in your direction on that front. Also want to encourage you to join us at www.preppernet.net and www.preppernet.com for the community and world of PrepperNet, where you can find other folks who are into the same kind of emergency preparedness, independent living, and sustainability that you are. Because life's kind of boring without friends. At least it is for me. I don't know about you guys. Come on out, check that out, meet some new people. We're going to pick up now with our next set of items for surviving a natural disaster. Our top 10 items, these are our last 5. And a lot of folks are going to be looking at me going, but this didn't make it into your top 5. Nope, it made it to number 6. And I was generous at putting it at number 6. But we're preppers. We got to talk about this. Defense. That's usually the beans, bullets, and Band-Aids type of prepping. Most of us are familiar with that. A lot of us probably got our start in gun prepping. A lot of folks come into the world that way, and it's okay. But defense. In a natural disaster, I hate to say it, it's just part of being in a fallen world, guys. There's bad people out there. There's people that get desperate. There's people that want to take advantage of you, that want to take advantage of your family, want to take advantage of your community. And when something happens and you got no communications, there is no one coming to rescue you, you need to have a plan on what you're going to do. because looters in wildfires, hurricanes, tornadoes, they're unfortunately a fact of life, and you never know just how desperate somebody might be. So you need to have a plan. You need to have something for defense. I'm not going to delve too far into this topic. There's a lot of other folks that spend a lot of time talking about this. I will say kind of a couple of things, related to this, just from personal experience, as far as not necessarily in defense, but in carrying a firearm, and specifically carrying a firearm while doing disaster cleanup and that kind of thing. A lot of folks carry in a holster that doesn't provide retention while that they are going about their day-to-day life. Well, when you're running heavy equipment, when you're cleaning up debris, when you're climbing through down trees and you're doing all that stuff, your pocket knife and its clip, if you carry a pocket knife in your front pocket, it's going to get yanked out of your pocket and lost. And the same can be said for your pistol that's in a no retention holster. So have some way to make sure that your gear stays with you, because you're going to be doing a lot of hard work, not just going out for coffee and doing the walk around Walmart. You're going to be doing big stuff, and seats and heavy equipment have a tendency to catch on stuff, tree limbs, tree branches, all that stuff. So make sure you got a way to keep your defensive tools with you, and them not end up in the mud somewhere, and you having to go out and spend hours and hours and hours trying to find out where that they went. I'll kind of throw that in there as a little aside to the normal defensive discussion. It's something also to be aware of is just being aware of your surroundings during a disaster. Be aware of things and people and other things that are out of place. Unfortunately, there's a lot of folks, a lot of things out there that are not great. People that traffic people that do all kinds of things. They look for those opportunities during a disaster, because chaos and disruption opens the door to a lot of bad stuff. So be mindful of your communities, be mindful of what's around, be mindful of your kids and other little ones around you. Disasters are dangerous places, not just from the people, but also from the hazards and all that kind of stuff. So have a defensive plan, and understand that it's got to be a real world workable defensive plan, because there's still rule of law. There's still people around. You got to be a little cognizant of that. Next, kind of an obvious one that probably, it's hard. Everything needs to be at the top. Everything's vying for the top of a list like this, but fuel. You got to have fuel. The fuel makes the world go round. You need to have enough fuel to get you by for a few weeks, potentially, if you can. I realize that's not an option for everybody. Everybody doesn't have a way to store enough fuel for a few weeks safely. You got to keep those things in mind. And when I say fuel, I'm not just talking about gasoline. I'm also talking about diesel fuel and propane and any other fuels that you need in order to do the things that you need to do. If you got heavy equipment to run, if you've got, keep your vehicle running, keep your generators running, cook, all those sorts of things, you got to have some fuel. And storing fuel is important because a lot of times, the power's out, especially in a bigger disaster. When the power goes out, you can't get gas from gas stations. You're not going to be able to pay for it either, because the credit card systems aren't going to be working unless you got cash. And I got to tell you, one of the most nerve-wracking experiences of my life was having to go in a gas station. Not even during a disaster. It was just after a really bad thunderstorm that knocked a bunch of trees down and put the power out in a big section of town and that kind of thing. The gas station had power, but they didn't have internet. And I need gas. And, I'm kind of something I've got to deal with. So I stopped to get gas. And then I find out they don't have internet. And I go in the store because, hey, I'm prepared. I got cash, right? I'm just going to go in and, have them put $40 on pump whatever, and I'm going to get my gas and I'm going to go on. I walk in and walk up to there's all kinds of people standing around first. And I'm looking around like, yeah, everybody's standing here because they can't use the pay at the pump function. And I don't really know why they're still here, but they're just kind of hanging around. And at that moment, when I whipped the wallet out and tossed $40 on the counter for the clerk to turn the pump on, I realized that everyone was looking at me because I just bought gas and they couldn't.
Hey, let's take a quick break.
Are you a prepper or homesteader looking to connect with like-minded people in your area? Looking to start your own preparedness group? Already have a group? Well, look no further than PrepperNet. PrepperNet is dedicated to personal responsibility, individual freedoms, and being self-reliant. PrepperNet has monthly meetings in over 100 cities where you can meet and learn with like-minded people in your area. PrepperNet, where preppers unite. Find us online at preppernet.com.
And at that point, I realized, if this was a worse situation, I might be in a bad spot right now. So avoiding having to go buy fuel during a disaster, definitely a win, especially early on. I got a report over HF radio during Hurricane Helene from a trusted associate of mine that there had been an actual shooting at a gas station. I think there was actually more than one shooting at a gas station, but there was a shooting at a gas station in his area over fuel. People get kind of wild over those sorts of things, and we see that in the movies and we see it in Hollywood, but we don't always realize, think about the fact that that's coming to a town near you when a disaster happens. So just like the watering holes of yore, the gas station is kind of the watering hole now. And a lot of us kind of have noticed that. You notice that over the years if you travel a lot. All this shady stuff goes on at gas stations. It's like the watering hole for the gazelle in Africa, where the alligators, out there looking, going, hey, can I get this one? You kind of feel that way at some gas stations. There's some that aren't, but you get that distinct feeling at a lot of them. Have fuel stored. Dodge being in situations like that. Make sure you have enough fuel to keep your vehicle going and keep your generators going as needed, as well as your cooking food and your other stuff. Scale that to your needs. It's pretty easy to store gasoline. My tips for storing gasoline: 1, don't buy gasoline that has ethanol in it. Buy gasoline that does not have ethanol in it and use one of the fuel stabilizers, and it will easily last a few years. I rotate fuel every 12 to 24 months. Never have a problem. I'm even guilty of not draining the gas out of my lawnmower over the wintertime, and I just leave, a non-ethanol gas in it, and I get it out in spring, and after 3 or 4 pulls on the cord or cranking for a couple minutes, depending on which machine it is, it fires right up and is totally happy. Non-ethanol is the key there. That's also the key to your stuff like your chainsaws and that kind of thing. I keep some unleaded 93 around for those, and the stuff to mix gas. So, keep that in mind. Keep fuel. Propane stores almost indefinitely, as long as you can keep it in the tank and it doesn't leak out or you have other issues. So properly stored propane, hangs out for a long time. Diesel fuel can also be stored for quite some time. It used to store a lot better, a lot longer. The new ultra low sulfur stuff is a little more prone to some issues, but if you're going to store a lot of it for a long time, algicide is your friend. Store some fuel and be ready to keep on with your needed mobility and operations. Next is electricity. We talked about communications earlier. Communications require some electrons. You got to have a way to charge your handheld radios. You need to have a way to charge or operate your bigger radio gear if you have that. You'd have a way to run your Starlink if you're doing that. Starlink's kind of a power hog, so keep in mind that if you're going to keep it running 24/7, that you're going to need quite a bit of power. Maybe you want to keep your deep freezes running. That's an undertaking all of its own that is beyond the scope of this, but it gets involved. You want to try to run that. And running a generator all the time to run all of this stuff can be a very large waste of fuel for a lot of us. Generators excel at running very large loads and running them usually for short times or moderate length times. But if you are running very light loads, like you're lighting, maybe your blender to make some, hurricane party margaritas, or whatever your favorite drink is for your hurricane party, get the rum out, coconut, whatever. Running a generator to do that, maybe not as efficient as one of the kind of new power stations that people are using. You can charge some of those very quickly off of a generator, and then you can use light loads on them as needed without having to sit there and waste fuel running a generator continuously. So you think about that. You can stretch your fuel a long, long, long way doing that. Having some power to run some lights, run some fans when it's hot out, and keep yourself in the know. Charge batteries for your flashlights and your night vision gear. Whatever it is. Think about all the things you need to power, all the things you need to run, and how much electricity you need, and how you're going to accomplish that. And have a backup, because I know people who are off grid, and during a natural disaster, hurricane, tornado, whatever, when the neighbor's chicken coop gets thrown through your solar array, you need to have a backup, because now you need a bunch of new solar panels in the middle of a disaster. And that's going to take a minute. Have a plan B. One is none, two is one kind of thing. And have a power plan for power. Electricity is a inescapable part of modern life, unfortunately. And it's a whole lot more efficient at lighting, than using oil and white gas. I love me some white gas lanterns. Don't get me wrong. There's something about the hiss and the color of the light and the smell and everything. It brings back fun memories of camping and being in the woods. And, I love it. But it burns a lot more fuel than, 3 AA's that you can recharge over and over and over pretty quickly off the sun. So, yeah, you keep that in mind. Plus, there's fire hazards and all the other stuff that goes on with using flames inside. But, you guys are adults. You can figure out all that stuff. Electricity kind of dovetails into item number 9. Item number 9 is mental health care. And I feel like I need to stop and talk about this a little bit, because this is not something that we talk about during a natural disaster. And all the tough guys out there are going, yeah, whatever, suck it up, buttercup. There's a lot to be said during a natural disaster for mental health care. It is an extremely stressful situation. For a lot of people, it turns into a hopeless situation. And we don't want anybody to decide to take a permanent solution to a temporary problem. It does not matter how bad that the natural disaster is. If everything you own is gone and you have no insurance and you have no idea where you're going from now, maybe your job is gone too, your house is gone, your job's gone, maybe you even lost family members during the disaster, it's a bad place to be. And we need to be cognizant of that. We need to be cognizant of the people around us, because it's very easy for people to find themselves in a very dark place immediately following a disaster. And like I said, we don't want anyone to decide that they want to take a permanent course of action to what would be a temporary problem. This too will pass. You can rebuild. There are people to help. There's a time to grieve and a time to mourn. And we can't, we just have to keep those things in mind. God put us here for a reason. The Father has an intention for us. We have to remain focused on, I survived this. He gave me another day. That means he's not done with me yet, and I've still got something to do, and I still have a purpose, and I need to fulfill that purpose. So we have to pay attention to that, but we also have to take active roles in our own life and our own situation to make sure that we stay mentally healthy and our family stays mentally healthy. And some of that is the preparedness stuff we've listed before. Having some lights on and a fan goes a long way to your mental health rather than being completely miserable in what's left of your house in 90-degree temps while getting swarmed by mosquitoes. Having just the smallest of creature comforts and the ability to put some tarps over your roof, the ability to just do a few things to help with your mental health care it's such a huge thing. And this comes with food too. The whole rice and beans thing, we talked about earlier in the other episode. Rice and beans is great, but having some quick to make tasty stuff that tastes good and having spices and herbs and stuff too to make your food taste good. Again, it goes a long way. That hot cup of coffee on a cold morning when you're exhausted and you're hurting everywhere from working harder than you've ever worked, the ability to just, have just the smallest thing, it goes a huge long way to your mental condition. That little USB fan that you charge off the little solar panel you've got outside during the day that can blow on your, on you at night while you're trying to sleep, just to make it feel a little bit less miserable and provide just a little bit of noise to bring back a little bit of normalcy to your brain is just another step toward mental care. Stop, rest, engage with people, be with your tribe, be with your folks, look out for other people too. Notice when other people are having issues and do what you can. And sometimes that's just stop, acknowledge that they've got issues, offer a minute or two of escape or a minute or two of normalcy, and what you can. We don't talk about this. We don't talk about the stress. We don't talk about the after effects of having watched everything around you get destroyed that keeps you from sleeping for weeks. And, just be aware of your own mental status. Do a mental health checkup on yourself once in a while. Hey, am I doing okay today? Is everything, all right with me? And also don't be afraid to do that with your friends and family too. Hey, are you really okay? You need to talk. Be cognizant of that and learn how to deal with those things. And I've talked about mental health here enough. I could probably talk a little more about that, but it's something that we leave out in the prepping world, and it's an important topic, especially if you've got kids. This kind of stuff can be kind of hard on kids. They're really resilient, and they snap through a lot of stuff in ways that are truly stunning and amazing. But it's also, they have a lot of fear and they have a lot of stuff from this when they see it. So be cognizant of your kids' well-being while you're out trying to clean up and build them a new world. Next on our list of items, building materials. Number 10, building materials. Because stuff gets broken. Plywood. If you live in hurricane country, maybe you want plywood already pre-cut, stacked in your garage, ready to put over your windows when the hurricane's coming. Tarps, because pieces of roof get blown off and trees fall through roofs. Having some building materials to make some field expedient repairs during a disaster to keep the weather out, to preserve your property as best as you can, so that you don't have to make other repairs later because of issues there. are important things, as well as having the tools to do all that stuff, obviously, but having the materials on hand, because when everybody's got their roof blown off and you go to Harbor Freight or Home Depot to try to buy some tarps, you're going to find out that all the tarps are sold out. Have some of that now while it's plentiful and cheap, rather than joining the masses to try to go get stuff. And this isn't really building materials, but I'm going to toss this out here too, because a lot of people who do disaster relief are aware of this. People who don't may or may not be. Rubbermaid totes. Rubbermaid totes are often in demand after a natural disaster because it's a place for people to put what little bit of their belongings that they can find after their house gets smashed by a tornado into something that they can keep it together and keep it dry and try to, salvage those family pictures and those memories and what they can. So having some extra Rubbermaid totes, maybe stuffed away with your preps. I mean, they can even have stuff in them, or you stack 4 or 5 on top and then fill the last one up with stuff or whatever. But having some stuff that if you do have, maybe a room has a tree fall through it or that kind of thing, where you can go grab the stuff, throw it in, or maybe your basement floods and you need a place to toss the stuff you're trying to save into a Rubbermaid tub to protect it, and you can go stack it elsewhere and deal with it. But having those sorts of things can be beneficial to helping you get through an unforeseen disaster, but also maybe help a neighbor out that needs some help too. So building materials, Rubbermaid tubs, tarps, plywood, nails and screws, all that kind of stuff that you need to make repairs to a structure that's damaged by wind, rain, hail, flying debris, etc. To keep your structure livable and healthy. Because living in a place that's starting to mold and starting to have other stuff, it's no good. It's no good for you. It's no good for your family, and it will ultimately end up causing you a lot of problems, even if it's not immediately. It will. You got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of your health. You got to take care of your structure. So having some materials and stuff stashed in the back of the garage or that kind of thing can be a huge deal during a natural disaster. I will say, don't have that pallet of plywood or OSB covered by a tarp sitting out in the front yard when the tornado comes through, because you might find yourself standing watching the sheets of plywood start to lift up off and maybe go flying through the air. Probably not the best place to be. Have some materials, have some stuff to fix some stuff. And I'm going to toss in here, I know I said I was only going to do top 10, but I've got an 11th one that I want to throw in here. And this is not an 11th one for everybody. But if you're a homesteader, you live in the country, if you, have a lot of land, something to really, kind of keep in mind that is not just to you, but to the people around you, a massive asset during the cleanup phase of a natural disaster is heavy equipment. If you're lucky enough to own an excavator, or you own a good-sized farm tractor or a skid steer or any kind of machinery like that, it is an invaluable tool to cleaning up vegetative debris, to fixing roads that got damaged, flooding and those sorts of things, to clearing trees off the road and doing so many things in a much safer way than sometimes you can do them by yourself. If you've got equipment, then, take care of it. Have some of the stuff that you need to make some repairs to your equipment on hand so you can keep it in the action. But heavy equipment is a huge natural disaster survival item. And like I said, if you live in a suburban lot and you're a suburban homesteader, then you probably don't have any need for a 20,000-pound excavator. And it's probably not in the budget, and it's probably not a good use of resources. But if you're developing your 50 acres or 40 acres out in the country and turning it into a homestead and you have an excavator, make sure that it's in working order to deal with a disaster if one comes along, because you never know. You might be the one that ends up cleaning off the 2 miles of road to your neighbor's house so he can get out and help other folks or do what he needs to do. So part of being in the community, everybody pulling together, doing that kind of stuff, having the stuff to keep your equipment going is another huge benefit. In review, we're going to take a look back at our top 10 natural disaster preps. Starting with our previous episodes, number 1 item is potable water, because we've all got to drink, clean, and do all those things that water does. Food, because you're going to get hungry while you're working, and you got to keep your strength, and you got to keep your health going, and you got to have food. Communications, you got to have information from outside. Your decision-making loop is greatly impacted by the information that you have, and you need a way to get information, and communications in the modern electronic form is the way that we're going to do it today, because I don't believe they're bringing the Pony Express back anytime soon. Although they got close in western North Carolina using mule trains to deliver supplies. But I don't think the Pony Express is coming back to deliver you a letter or a newspaper anytime soon. Medical, because you are your own first responder. I'm stealing that from somebody. I can't remember who it is, but there's somebody that uses that tagline, and it's very true. There's not going to be anybody closer to the medical incident that occurs involving you than you are. So be prepared to kind of deal with it yourself and deal with it for your family. You want to be there for your family. The chainsaw, kind of self-explanatory. Trees, vegetation, blocking roads, all that good stuff. So much debris, so much stuff to clean up. You got to have a saw, and a good saw. We'll do a whole episode on chainsaws one day. Defense. There's bad people out there. We all know it. We live in a fallen world. People prey on people who are in a less defensible position. And being without power and communications and the ability to dial 911 is a pretty low defense location for a lot of folks. Have a plan. Fuel. You can't do much anymore without some kind of fuel. You got to have fuel to cook. You probably need fuel to operate your vehicle, your chainsaw, your generator. Everything's got to have fuel, and fuel shortages are extremely common during natural disasters. Everybody knows it's coming. I won't say nobody. Lots of folks prepare for it, but don't be the one that goes, you know what? It'll be fine. I know I've not restocked my fuel and I've only got 5 gallons left for the lawnmower, but nothing's going to happen in this storm. It's not worth it. Go fill up the rest of the cans. I know it's a couple of $100 worth of fuel, but it's an investment, and you can, use it later in the car. Electricity. Got to have power. Charge those flashlights. Charge those two-way radios. Run those HF radios. Run your deep freeze. Because I don't know about you, but I got like thousands of dollars of stuff in my deep freezes, and I don't want to lose that. That's a big investment. So having something that I can run my deep freezes off of and keep my stuff frozen, that's essential. So you got to have some electricity. Mental health care. We overlook this a lot. You got to have your mental health care. Make sure you're all right, and make sure the others around you are all right. Building materials. It's a disaster. Stuff gets broken and smashed and washed away. So having some extra stuff to at least kind of fix the problem until you can get everything you need to fix it right, at least to keep the rain and the cold out, have some extra stuff. Also doesn't hurt to have some, spare stuff to fix plumbing leaks and those sorts of things when it gets cold outside. Because remember, not all disasters happen when it's summertime. Sometimes disasters happen when it's really cold and unexpected things happen. In fact, the disaster could just be a blizzard of the century and your water pipes freeze. And as we learned in Texas a few years ago, when everybody's water pipes freeze, Home Depot runs out of shark bite connectors real quick, and all the other connectors too. So some building materials. And then last, I kind of threw in number 11 is heavy equipment. If you're blessed and you've got heavy equipment at your fingertips and you have access to that kind of stuff, have it ready. Be prepared to use it to help out your community, because during a natural disaster, that subdivision that you're in, little town of a couple hundred people, outside of wherever, you guys are all you got for a while, and you're going to have to work together, and having everybody able to chip in and having some equipment to chip in as well, huge force multiplier for us during a natural disaster. So guys, be safe. We are headed into hurricane season. First one is off the coast right now as I am recording this. So be prepared. I think Ryan Hall says, be prepared, don't be scared, or something like that. He's exactly right. We're not preppers because we're afraid. We're preppers because we understand reality, and we want to improve our position for ourselves and those that we love. So stay out there, prep on, train on, get that training, get that know-how, and be ready when the unexpected happens. Keep that normalcy around. Again, if you are new to the Prepping Academy podcast, if you are new to PrepperNet, please check us out at www.preppernet.com and www.preppernet.net, where you can learn more about PrepperNet and you can join our online community, where there are folks that know a lot about a lot of different prepping topics, and hang out and converse, and events and all kinds of stuff that go on there that you can potentially participate in. Encourage you to check us out. If you are into radio, you are into emergency communications, you see the need to be able to communicate during an emergency, and you see the need to be able to communicate over a distance, and make those friends now while the grid is up, and you can develop friends and folks that you can depend on for accurate, correct information. I encourage you to check out the PrepperNet Comms division. We have a net every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. We have folks from as far away as Colorado and Texas, all the way over to the East Coast, that participate with us. We do a digital net where that we pass written information back and forth across the radio in a very accurate form. So if you're in a disaster and you need specific information easily relayed, we do a lot of that, and it is an excellent skill to have. So come on out, train and practice with us. Get that training in before you need it. Keep the bugs knocked out of your gear. That being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I hope to see you at the Eastern Tennessee Homestead Alliance Festival. This is Patrick for Grid Down Comms Up on the Prepping Academy.
Thanks for listening to the Prepping Academy podcast. Preppers Unite at www.preppingacademy.com.
Has your data been hacked? Do you feel uneasy about the vulnerability of your personal information online? Were you involved in the Target, LinkedIn, or Microsoft data leaks? Don't know? If not, then pay attention. Join Forrest Garvin from PrepperNet for a free webinar on privacy and security. Gain insights into safe internet browsing, VPNs, crafting online aliases, secure emails, detecting if your data has been hacked, and managing passwords. Secure your spot today for this webinar on privacy and security. It's free. This webinar delves into comprehensive strategies for bolstering your online privacy. We've got you covered, from fortifying your passwords to shielding your financial information. and mastering state-of-the-art encryption techniques. We're offering 2 convenient dates to suit your schedule. Reserve your spot now at preppernet.com/privacy. Don't let cyber threats erode your peace of mind any longer. Take the first step toward a safer, more secure online experience by joining us for our free webinar. Remember, knowledge is power when it comes to safeguarding your privacy. Sign up now at preppernet.com/privacy. We'll see you there.